So Atelier LUMA is a biodesign lab. We're different from other biodesign labs in the sense that we don't have one specific focus. We have multiple focuses where we're able to work with biologists, chemists, engineers, but also designers, architects, even sociologists, sometimes artists. So we work in this very multidisciplinary way, and that also allows us to generate projects from, let's say, A until Z, where we're able to look at each step of the process from investigation through to design, through to implementation, and then through to transmission. And Atelier LUMA, we're what you would call a program of LUMA Arles. So we're the kind of the biodesign hub of LUMA Arles. We're based in Arles in France, where we call what we call our bioregion, and we really use our bioregion as a resource. So we're continually mapping the region in order to find opportunities for new researchers, connecting resources to projects, to people, in order to make either new materials or maybe even new companies, social enterprises, and things like this.
Yeah, and I think it's just creating a link that's what the different knowledge we have in the region, and then we approach it through the material research and development, and then from that we can build like a programs in order to do workshops and then communicate around the projects.
Well, I mean, I think it's a very good opportunity because you'll have us, Atelier LUMA, a biodesign lab, where you have me, my background is architecture, you have Hannah, background in product design, but also can go into much deeper into the materials. The work we do here is not at all how design or architectural practices or schools normally operate. So I hope that we're able to transmit a little bit of that different approach and help in the progression of the projects in Korea.
Yeah, I think which is interesting is like we're developing a methodology on how to use materials from a site and then building like all this filière we call like this system. Yeah, so being in contact with the students from another country is also to kind of apply the same methodology and try to understand how can we also work somewhere else, and then also to kind of stimulate the students to use new materials and to think around this.
Well, it sort of, I guess, connects a little bit to kind of modularity. So how easy are things to construct? How can these things be replicated? And then how easy are they to sort of deconstruct? It also maybe connects a little bit to the work about Stuart Brand, who talks a lot about buildings of change, and has a way to look at buildings where he looks at them in layers of time. So I think the topic of how do we deconstruct is it's a really important topic, because often people forget that the money that's spent in actually constructing a building is a really small part of the money that will actually be spent over the lifetime of the building, as the building changes, as things are adapted, reconstructed, deconstructed. So having a focus on how we actually build an architecture for deconstruction, and with deconstruction kind of embedded into those principles, is probably a valuable thing to focus on.
Yeah, I think it's now, if you have to build something, you're always thinking like how it's going to be, and then you kind of like have an order, and then maybe if the construction is the first thing to think about, it's going to make you think differently how it's going to be after when there's not use anymore to that site. So it's the way around of thinking about a building. So it's quite interesting.
The importance of it, first of all, it depends what you're actually constructing with. If you're going to make a concrete structure, a standard concrete structure, there's probably not much value in making mock-ups of these sorts. But if you're working on certain materials, such as it could be rammed earth, or looking at a modular wooden system, things of kind of that nature, it allows you to do many things. First of all, it allows you to work on the principle of the design and make a working prototype in order to test it, to see whether or not it works, how it can be improved, these types of things. It also, depending on the fabrication process, it also helps you work with the fabricator, the artisan, the craftsman, and these types of people that need to be engaged in that process. If they're not engaged in the process early enough in order to make one-to-one prototypes and these types of things, then you're losing a lot of time in actually the construction process. So one-to-one prototypes, depending on what you're doing, are, extremely valuable. Henna can go more into detail when it comes to actual materials, but I'll let you know.
Yes, I think when you formulate a new material, you always have to work with like a little amount of what are you going to use, and then you have a palette of materials and then samples, and then when you go into a little bit bigger, you see that the formulation needs to be readjusted because it's producing in a bigger scale. It makes you rethink about the process where you mix the things, you shred, you grind, or whatever like the process is. So it's always very good to confront that from a one-to-one mock-up.
So the building that we're sitting next to, the building is called Le Magasin Électrique, or the Electric Workshop. It was a railway factory that was built in the 19th century. Since the 1980s, it was derelict and not often used. So it's a renovation project. This project we work on with also BC and Assemble. It's the new headquarters of Atelier LUMA. With this project, we used it as a way to really kind of develop at scale the research that is being done by the Atelier, but also the research that is being done by Assemble and that is being done by BC. So really looking at this kind of bi-regional approach in order to construct a building. So looking within a very short radius from the site, 70 kilometers, and within that radius trying to find the materials that you will use to construct it. When I talk about materials, I don't mean materials that already exist, I mean resource streams, so waste products coming from agriculture, waste products coming from the building demolition industry, from stone extraction, from sand extraction, etc., etc. So we bring all of those resources together in order to, we've constructed and made around 20 material interventions on this building. Enclosed within the building is also our laboratories, our archive, our workspaces, our workshops, and an array of like other activities. So that's really the building project that we're working on. We're often asked to work on projects, and because us in the Atelier we're able to do A until Z, we're able to do the whole process. It often depends on what part of it that we're going to enter into. But if we're talking about the going maybe to like a new region, I think for us always the first priority is this phase where you call the kind of mapping phase, trying to understand what's in the region, what resources are there, raw resources, but also human resources. Are they known for doing something? Is there things that maybe they're making for a factory that works for 6 months, but 6 months it doesn't work because it's focused on a specific thing like wine cultivation or something like that. So the sort of the mapping process for us is always the key thing to start, and now more so, what's important is also to try and transmit this specific methodology that we work on, in order that the people quickly understand what it is that we're trying to do and what it is we're hoping to sort of bring to a certain area or region or project. So those are the sort of most important first kind of initial steps to look at. I would say that architecture is not it's not all about architecture. I think it's important to try and step out of the school and out of that kind of atmosphere. Look for other things. When I was at school, I'd done these things like a derive, which kind of helped me to kind of get out of that mode of this kind of black box architecture. I would also say work and finish at 6 p.m. Sleep. Try not to work weekends. Be efficient. Focus on. Try to go through the process of ideas, and try not to get too lost in that whole thinking, and try and keep a nice balance between working in architecture school but also having things doing in the exterior, because these two things are really important in order to make sure that you have a healthy work-life balance and also a healthy project. But yeah, good.
Yeah, I think I would say that it's being a student is a university is the perfect situation to explore and to propose new things, and then don't think much around the limitations that you will have after working. It's like a really like a carte blanche, we say in French. It's like really like a be free as they
blank
can.
canvas.
Yeah, exactly. So to propose new and innovative things.
Super.